Welcome to today's webinar, courtesy of the Kentucky Small Business Development Center in Louisville. Discover no-cost, valuable business services to help you thrive, whether starting your entrepreneurial journey or scaling your existing business. We have the resources and expertise to help you succeed. For more information, please visit our website or text 502-977-5800. Thank you for joining us today. Feel free to use the chat feature to ask questions or engage with our speaker. Let's get started.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dave Etkin. I'm the director here at the Louisville Small Business Development Center. It's so good to see you today on this Tuesday. And as always, I'm joined with my good friend and coworker, Janet Blah. How are you, Janet?
I'm doing great today. It's the weather's rolling in, but it's still nice out. Very nice.
Like I always say, I love a good rainy day. Looking forward to what's coming down the road there. We can see it high above the city here on the 23rd floor of the PNC Tower. So anyway, just to make sure that everybody can see and hear us, if you can look at the bottom of your screen there, you should be able to see the little chat button. If you click that, your little chat bar will pop up. If you wouldn't mind putting your name and saying hello, tell me where you're joining from. I always really enjoy kind of seeing where everybody's popping in from. It's always fun for me. Dwayne Buckles, how are you, Dwayne? I was just thinking about you the other day. I hope you're doing well. We should get caught up here sometime soon. Hope you're doing okay. There's Thomas. Hey, Thomas. Lauren from Louisville. Victoria from downtown Lou. All right. That's where we are, right downtown in Louisville. So yeah, I can see everybody kind of popping in. So Kristen from Hebron, Kentucky. Interesting. Oh, Northern Kentucky. Awesome. Lydia in Lexington. Sweet. Hey, Aprila. Good to see you again. Thanks for joining us today. So, as always, as we go through everything today, if you have any questions or comments, just put it in the chat there, and we'll have a conversation. That's what it's all. What it's about. We're going to go back and forth and make this a good day, because this is going to be a very interesting day. Starting a business and being an entrepreneur, probably the most important thing is mindset. And this is something I've been really thinking about and writing about recently, in that, you really have to take care of yourself first to be a successful entrepreneur and leader. And this whole concept of just totally grinding and just working to the exception of everything else is not the best way to have a successful business. Your business is dependent on you not being a bottleneck on what goes forward. So I met and had some great conversations with our presenter today, our speaker today, Beth Amlung. And I'm not going to give you too much spoiler here what we're going to do today, but Beth, how are you today? I'm so happy to have you here.
I'm well. Thank you so much, Dave, for having me. And thanks to everybody for tuning in. Hope everyone is having a great day so far.
Yeah. So like I said, if you have any questions or comments, put it in the chat, because this is kind of not more of a entirely here's some information sort of thing, but we're going to go a little bit back and forth on some things. So let's just dive right in, Beth, shall we?
We shall. We
Okay.
shall. So the concept here is less noise, bigger life. And less noise refers to what's in your head. And bigger life, hopefully, is what's outside of your head. I'm an emotional resilience coach, speaker, and author. And I'm going to start with a story. If you want to go to the next slide, please.
Okay, let's get that done here.
So this picture was taken back in the 1900s, the late 1900s. I had the opportunity to play collegiate tennis and coach for several years after that. And this gentleman on the right, Coach Ed Hegman, one of the great mentors of my life, he was in the Army and we were in his Army. And my freshman year of college, I suffered a string of losses. And coach was trying to problem solve, and he took me aside and he said, what's the deal? You're not performing up to your potential. Are you not sleeping enough? Have you gained weight? Have you lost focus? Are you struggling in class? And I went home from practice and I burst into tears when I came into my dorm room. I threw myself on the bed and my roommate said, "What's wrong?" And I said, "Coach says I'm fat." And he didn't. And we've all had those moments where somebody says something and we fill in an entire story because of a narrative we have or an insecurity we have, or next slide, please. A voice in our head. So if you all have the chat available can put in the chat who talks to you the most, more than anyone else. Lydia says me, myself. Okay. There's no wrong answers. This is definitely the most common answer and probably the most correct. The only exception I can think of is if you have a toddler in the Y phase, it might feel like the toddler can outshine your voice. Me, yes. Most of us have a running narrative in our head all the time. Your subconscious. Ooh, Lauren, getting serious. My subconscious. Absolutely. All right. So, with that in mind, let's go to the next slide. Whose voice do you hear the most? Dwayne says mine, my late mother, other people's frowny face. Yeah. It's usually frowny face when we're hearing someone else's. All right. Anyone else? Thank you guys in the chat for participating. We all have, let me make sure I'm not, okay. Yeah. We all have our own narrative, and then there's usually some other voice. I will say that my college coach lingered in my head for many years after I graduate. For some of us, it's an authoritative mentor, a critical parent, a rough sibling, a bully at school. And sometimes we're not even aware of whose voice is in our head. We just hear it all the time. Next slide, please. What does that voice say? Ooh, this will be a good one. See if you guys are feeling good and vulnerable. Brilla corrected her spelling error. I knew what she meant. Okay, so Lydia's showing some self-doubt. Not a good idea. Rethink that. Not going to work. You're going to screw this up. Ooh, Victoria always says I'm never enough. Are you sure? From Janet. Yes. Dave, you want to chime in what your voice says? Oh, he can write it. That's
There
fine.
we go.
That you can't succeed.
Yeah, I thought I
That's
better put it
rough.
in there. Yeah.
That's rough. Um, this is a valuable exercise because sometimes we feel like that hater between our ears, we're the only one that has it. And we all have that head trash. We all have those little gremlins or big gremlins. Let's go to the next slide, please. So your judge attacks. It attacks you, it attacks other people, and your circumstances. And your judge is based in the amygdala of your brain, the lower part of your brain, your survival brain. You've probably heard lizard brain, chimp brain, survival mode, that kind of thing. So when your judge activates, and I'm going to give a quick example of a simple thing that can activate your judge. You all are business people. You're here to learn more about business and learn more about yourselves. So you probably go to networking events. And a lot of times when you go to a networking event, you're walking into a room full of people you've never met before. No matter how great a state of mind you walk into that room, it's human nature to have a little bit of self-consciousness. And nothing ignites a threat response faster than walking in the room and catching someone doing one of these. Just a little eye roll at something you say, something you're wearing, whatever. And that's not a character flaw. That's biology. That's you could be excommunicated by the tribe. And so it's important to know when your judge takes over. Typically, you start criticizing circumstances, yourself, others, and so on. What are some things that you think? I mean, I would say most of what you guys already wrote in the chat, these things are coming from your inner judge. But what are some other things that your judge might be either saying to you or inspiring you to say to others? Go ahead and put it in the chat. Ooh, Mike, you don't belong here.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Why is this person here? Lauren, I had one of these moments at a networking thing last week. It definitely happens to all of us. Imposter syndrome. You need more training or knowledge. I hate when that voice in my head says that, although I do like learning. Thank you guys for contributing. Let's go to the next slide. So the judge isn't alone. We all have a judge, and it recruits 9 saboteurs. And you're going to see what those specific saboteurs are. Next slide, please. Your saboteurs, we think of this as like sometimes an illness or something you've caught or something you have. But in reality, your saboteurs began as strengths. There's something you used in your early childhood to feel safe or connected or loved, and it worked. And so you continued to use it and you continued to use it. And your saboteurs actually try to protect you. They typically become overdeveloped and then create diminishing returns. They are defenses that don't defend. And we're gonna let Dave get real vulnerable here and show you specifically what I'm talking about. So let's go to the next slide, please. So I am trained in positive intelligence, and we have a free assessment that allows you to know which of your saboteurs have been the most developed and get the most used to keep you safe or feeling loved or belonging or productive or whatever it is when it's not your highest creative, empathetic, compassionate, flowing self driving the bus. So the first thing that we're going to do, and if you guys could please think of questions, because Dave and I are going to do this for about 20 minutes or so, and then I'm going to open it up to questions and answers at the end. So think of questions, feel free to write them down. And I'm going to show you all, using Dave as my guinea pig, what a saboteur discovery session looks like. So this is an assessment that Dave spent, what would you say, 5, 7 minutes, something like
It
that?
wasn't long. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't take very long. And it really doesn't matter if you know what it's going to come out to be. These numbers are not a score in the sense of, oh my gosh, there's never been a bigger avoider in the world than Dave Edkin. These numbers are actually indicative of your awareness of these behaviors. Now, we all have all nine of these in varying degrees, and they can be changed. They are not a set, I'm stuck forever, avoiding, hyperachieving, whatever. In fact, the creator of positive intelligence, his highest saboteur when he started was victim, and now it's his lowest. So, this is something that with intention and practice, you can get yourself in a better state of mind more of the time. So I invite all of you to participate with we're going to do something called PQ reps to start. That stands for Positive Intelligence Quotient. And they're just little mindfulness exercises that actually build positive neural pathways to your prefrontal cortex and get you into a higher brain state. If you are sitting there thinking, this is stupid, this isn't working, I don't like this, it's dumb, that's your judge, and that's okay. And it's really super normal. That actually happened to me the whole first time I went through the program. I only did it halfway. Thank goodness I revisited. But I do invite you to take a few deep breaths and try to play along. All right. So I'm going to focus on Dave for a bit. Dave,
Okay.
thank you for coming. All right. So we're going to start off with some PQ reps, and I'm going to do some visual PQ reps because 90% of your sensory sensations are activated and added to with your vision. So if you need to focus on another sense, definitely close your eyes. But I would like you to pick something in your surroundings that is green. Is there anything in your area that is green or a shade of green?
Yes.
Okay. So, in order to have an effective mindfulness exercise, you need to focus on a single physical sensation for 10 or more seconds. So, I want you to just relax and focus on whatever's green. In 10 seconds, you don't have to count out 10 seconds. It's usually about
And everybody can do this at home too, right?
Yes, please play along. Please do this at home. And I'm going to do a few different ones so you get an idea that this isn't because different people have different things that they gravitate towards.
Okay.
So when you look at the green object, and it's more effective if you don't hear me yapping, but I do want to give a little bit of background so it's easier to engage when you try to do this. You're looking for colors and shades. You're noticing detail that you wouldn't notice when you typically just glance at an object. You are losing yourself in whatever green item you picked and let everything else fade away. Now, let's pick something, and you guys can do this too. Pick something that is a different color, hopefully a color you enjoy looking at. And again, we're going to see shadows, colors, shades, texture, finding wonder in the ordinary. And make sure you're breathing, by the way, because if you hold your breath all this time, you're not going to feel very relaxed. All right, this time, not necessarily a color. You can pick a color. Pick something with an interesting texture or pattern or something like that you want to look at. And if your grocery list is creeping in, or the fight you had with your dog is creeping in, or whatever, that's normal. That's part of the work. The most masterful meditators do not sit for an hour and say Om without any intrusive thoughts. Intrusive thoughts are actually a good thing because that's an opportunity to just notice and then let them go and go back to whatever you were trying to pay attention to. Let's do a couple physical ones. One of my favorite ones to do, and the reason is you can do this anytime, anywhere, even in a stressful situation, is take two fingers and gently rub them together so that you can actually feel the ridges on your fingertips. And if it helps to close your eyes, feel free to do that. Occasionally, I'll get somebody who has pretty significant neuropathy in their hands, and this isn't a good one for them. And now take your palms and just gently rub them together back and forth, noticing all of the physical sensations. Now, one final one, and this one's significantly different. And this is for everybody, but Dave, do you have a beverage or snack nearby?
Of course.
All right. So I will talk you through this and not do it because otherwise I'll have a mouthful. But take a sip or a bite. Enjoy the temperature. Notice how the taste, how it feels in your mouth. Just hold it there for a minute. And when you're ready, you can swallow or chew. The creator of this program tells the story of a gentleman who lost 100 pounds by only doing PQ reps on his meals. And what he was able to do is slow down and let his body tell him when he was full, not overeat, enjoy his food so much more. And I still shove Chick-fil-A in my pie hole like it's my job, but um, it's good to know. It's good to know some of these tips. All right. Thank you for that. Dave, tell me, do you feel any different than when we started?
Yeah, it's remarkably calming to do that.
I think so too. And I still forget to do it, even though this is like my thing that I'm supposed to do and teach others. So if you guys
Yeah.
forget, that's normal. That's your judge wanting to stay in charge. And it's a
Mhm.
process before you have a little bit more say. All right,
Yes. So
which
Tia's in the chat. She's very descriptive, and I think you're way ahead of ahead of me on things. So I appreciate you sharing all that about
Oh, thank
where
you,
your mind's
Tia.
going.
Yes, I love this.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think Tia needs to write poetry if she doesn't already. I like this. Thank you for noticing that. This is why we have a team here.
Yeah.
All right. So typically when I do a saboteur discovery session, we pick the top two or three. Today it'll probably be two saboteurs that impact you the most because sometimes somebody will have a very high score on a saboteur and they'll already have systems in place for overcoming it, or they'll say, yeah, that one, but that doesn't really resonate. I don't know why it was that number. So Dave, talk to me. What you want to do?
I get to pick.
You do.
Well, let's start at the top two. Why not, right?
Okay. So talk to me about the avoider. What does that look like for you? And when do you feel like that started?
I I don't know. It's been a while. I think it came from probably I come from a giant Catholic family, so it's totally drama ridden. I mean, there isn't a day that doesn't go by where something's going on. And I guess over the years, I just developed the point where I don't want to dive into that pool, and I just try to back off. I'd rather be the peacemaker and just stay out of it as much as possible. So, and I think that's maybe poured into other areas of my life as well. So that's probably where that came from.
Well, and so for you, for you all watching, I'm not going to put you on a couch and say, tell me about your mother. But if that's what you really have to do, that's okay. I'm just not
Yeah.
trained like the normal person that asked that question. Most of these things do typically start in your family and
Yeah.
then definitely manifest for sure. How would you say that impacts your work and relationships now?
Um, Again, I like people to work well together, and I have a hard time, or I don't like to dive in the middle of conflict, and so I tend to try to manage things quietly or in the background, just to avoid the confrontation.
That is extremely common. So 90% of all people have avoider as one of their top three saboteurs. So you are not alone. And
Thank
it's
God I'm
definitely
normal.
one of
Is
my
that what you're
top.
saying? I'm finally normal?
You're finally normal.
All
You've
right.
been normal all this time. Sorry to tell you. You're also special though.
Okay.
Normal and
Spe-
special.
Especially normal.
Especially normal. So again, in a session, I would typically have a few more notes that I would show as far as how the avoider plays out, what the lie the avoider tells you, and that's probably an important one.
Mhm.
So when we have a pattern of behavior of avoiding, our judge and our inner avoider are saying, this is going to make your life easier. This is going to help you avoid pain. This is going
Mhm.
to save other people's feelings. This is going to save your feelings and your discomfort. And Dave, does it work that way?
No, no, it doesn't.
Sometimes, but usually not. Usually not.
Yeah.
What would you say? What would change the most if you were if you avoided less? What would you do different?
You know, the biggest takeaway, I've been really thinking about this for a while, but when you have avoidant behavior, it's incredibly stressful because you're not resolving anything. There's always something loop, an open loop going on that you can't resolve because you're avoiding it. And just the other part that I've thought is, sometimes I feel like I struggle with a little procrastination a little bit, and I think that's part of that behavior as well.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. And some people are all out avoiders, like they don't get anything done and they don't have hard conversations and they don't, but for some people it's very isolated.
Yeah.
When I did my first workshop where I had students coming through, there were two students in particular who were excellent at hard conversations, but just hated to start projects and just wouldn't until there was an incredibly imminent deadline. So it can definitely look different ways for different people.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and I don't know if you remember, we talked about that. The cool thing is every saboteur has an important sage step. Do you remember what the sage step is for the avoider?
Oh gosh,
And it's okay because that was months ago. I don't
that was
expect you.
months ago. Help me out.
Um, were they fixing to hoarders? Let's see. Yes, Tia. Yeah, hoarders definitely have some avoider going. They're avoiding the decision of what to get rid of, or
Right.
sometimes processing the feelings of attached to their things, for sure. Now I forgot what I asked you. Oh, do you remember the sage step? Yes.
I don't. Help me out. Help me out.
Do you guys in the chat, what do you think is the best thing to help an avoider? It's two parts. It's probably not very fair because they're like, what? This is all new. I'll
Yeah.
help you out. So the first step, exposure. Ooh, I like it. Yes, actually, that is a good one. Tia's an avoider. Me too, Tia. Definitely exposure. So sometimes
Mhm.
that hard conversation ends up being a relief, an enlightening, or starting the project. How many people in the chat, just give me your favorite emoji, have put off something for 6 months and then it took you 15 minutes when you finally did it? I do that all the time. And I learned nothing from it. It happens again. It's just
Yeah.
I build it up in my head that this is going to be terrible. And yes, exactly. So the sage step for the avoider is take the first step, figure out what the first step is, whether it's set out your workout clothes so you finally go work out, or find the phone number of the person you really need to have the chat with, or whatever it
Mhm.
is. But the second part is equally important, and that is celebrate. Because so often we shame ourselves into, I didn't do the whole project, I didn't solve the whole problem, I didn't whatever. And it's important to celebrate the steps as you go. And believe it
Mhm.
or not, most people kind of suck at intentional joy. It is a practice. Mike says, but if I hadn't mulled it around in my head for 6 months, it would have taken me 30 minutes. Okay, so efficiency somehow.
Uh-huh.
Um, would you say that you would feel less stressed then if you did not procrastinate as much, Dave? Some people are exhilarated by the deadline.
Mhm. Yeah, some people are exhilarated. I guess I am to a certain extent, but so I, I, I I think that once you take the first step or do the first little bit, there's kind of a sense of relief in a way. I think it's a positive feeling, and that's what I try to hold on to. Is like, oh, it'll feel good once I get that little thing done. Yeah,
That's good. So you are starting to celebrate. Because
yeah,
sometimes people
and
take the first step and they're like, oh, I only did one step. So yes, that's super important.
yeah.
Is there anything else about the avoider that you want me to talk about, or do you want to move on to the hyperachiever?
I don't know.
Does anyone else want to hear more about the avoider? Because this is a super common one.
I think it's a big one. Yeah. What other strategies do you recommend for avoidant behavior?
It does depend on what you're avoiding. But definitely the first steps. And I have a semi-embarrassing, actually it's a very embarrassing story. I used to be a launch coach for Business Network International, where I would help train emerging chapters for BNI. And my director had given me a task to do, I don't even know how many times, and I kept coming up with excuses of why I hadn't done it. And it finally occurred to me, I'm like, I don't want to lie to the guy. I gotta figure out. And I realized I don't know where to start. And so I finally confessed, I got to tell you, I don't know where to start. And he said, oh, you got to go to the Dropbox. So we get on a Zoom and he takes me to the Dropbox. He hadn't even given me permission or the link to the Dropbox. And so I was so embarrassed I didn't know where to start, but I like really, it just was a funny thing. And if I had just confessed 3 weeks before, hey, I don't know where to start, we would have not both been behind. So it is important to confess. Confess. Aprilla says, do you have one for stress? Well, I think all of these show up as some type of stress for
Yeah,
sure.
avoidant is very stressful.
Avoidant is very stressful. Yeah. And all of these, some self-compassion, which again is an acquired skill for many of us,
Mhm.
definitely, definitely applies.
So
So
Beth, do you think that like before doing the first step, running through some of those exercises that you showed us in the beginning, is that a good way to
absolutely. Thank
pull
you.
yourself back on?
Yes. Brandon's asking if there is material available on the saboteur concepts. Yes, we will get to that I will tell you more about that in the Q&A, Brandon, which is going to be the final part of our session today.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I want to give a little background on the hyperachiever. So the hyperachiever, I think this is a really common one for people in business, entrepreneurs looking to improve themselves. The example of the hyperachiever is somebody who draws their worth from achievements. So they typically set a goal and they think, when I reach this goal, I am going to feel X, whether it's happy or less shame or fulfilled or whatever. See this a lot in endurance athletes. I'm going to run this race and I'm going to get a medal and then I'm going to be okay. And a lot of times, hyperachievers will let some of their primary relationships go to chase a goal. And obviously that does not work. There are diminishing returns. This is something I relate to, and I'm a relatively high achieving person, but for me personally, I also experience shame when I don't achieve. So you might have a very high hyperachiever, but not necessarily the resume to show it. That doesn't mean that the saboteur isn't messing with you because you might have shame for what you haven't achieved. Back to you, Dave. You have a pretty good awareness of your hyperachiever. Where
Mhm.
did this come from? What did it look like? What does it look like for you?
I think I mean, I can pinpoint it started, childhood. Like I had some family members that were super successful, that like my uncles and stuff, and um, so it was like always expected that I should surpass these guys, and I mean, that would, which is probably impossible, but that's kind of the bar I've always subconsciously held myself to. So that's kind of driven everything.
I think I think society does that. Like,
Yeah,
you have to do X to be loved, safe, to belong,
right.
all of those things. And our families often think they're doing right by us in those instances. And we're learning, maybe. How would your life look different if you did not feel that pressure?
I think that, like you mentioned earlier, like I think maybe it comes from, we grew up with watching movies and stuff, and there's always a happy ending. So if I get to that ending, then that's the end of the story. Everything's cool, and it's great. Um, so I think that I think if I would have changed my mindset, I think I would have enjoyed the process. That I think that's where I think the fun part is not the achieving, but the get, the journey to get there. I think, and it's hard for me um, to focus on that part of it as opposed to the end goal. Does that make any sense?
Well, I think you answered my next question, and that's what do you think the sage step is for the hyperachiever?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I think that you have to somehow, I don't know. I guess I'm at a loss here, so help me out there. I'm not sure what to do here.
Well, Lauren contributed be okay with failure,
Yeah.
and that is part of it, but you said it yourself, and that is focusing on the journey and focusing on, who you become in the process and not just the outcome.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Because there
guess.
is no, you know, hit some goal weight and, goal face configuration and then get dipped in the lacquer and then you're set for forever. I mean, there's going to be a continuation. Oh, Thomas, so true. Comparison is the thief of joy.
Whoa, man. That is
Dropping
great.
truth bombs.
That is great.
Dropping truth bombs. All right, so we are at 12:40. I want to make sure I leave time for question and answer. So there is one final part of the saboteur discovery session, and that's typically 45 to 60 minutes when we do that. That Dave, when Dave and I did it, I'm going to just give you guys a quick abbreviation. I walked him through a Sage Powers exercise, and I'm going to do it super fast with you guys. So, everybody play along. Think of something that is on your heart, a problem that you have been dealing with. And it doesn't have to line up with any of these terms, just something that you're not sure what to do about it. And you don't have to put it in the chat because the whole point is I'm going to help you and I won't even know what's wrong. And the first sage power is empathize. And empathize is about remembering who you were when you were like 2 to 5 years old and innocent and your pure, awesome essence. And look at that version of you. How would they need to be handled in this situation? And you might also need to look at the person you're upset with if your problem is a person and look at them as a 2 to 5 year old. And again, this is better when we have a little bit more time to explore. The next power is explore, and that is where you're going to think of all of the possible solutions, no matter how ridiculous. What are all of the possible solutions for this problem? And, do you show up in your office the next day naked and carrying a golf club? I don't know. I don't know if that's going to solve the problem. The next part is innovate. I'm sorry. I told you innovate. Explore is get curious. What are some other viewpoints of the problem outside of yours? This is why I should have had notes. So maybe the person across from you, maybe somebody looking in from the outside, how would they view what are some other viewpoints? So innovate is coming up with all kinds of crazy solutions, usually injecting more empathy, confidence, curiosity helps. And then the fourth power is navigate. And navigate, rather, it's kind of the opposite of empathize. Rather than looking at yourself as a child or someone else as an innocent child, I want you to imagine your wiser, older self. What qualities are you working towards? Are you working to cultivate as your defining characteristics? For me, it's peace and authenticity. Just calm, peace, authenticity. I'm not there yet all the time. It's a process, but it might be something different for you. What would your wiser older self tell you to do? And then finally, the fifth sage power, and they can go in any order, by the way, is activate. And activate is about having laser focus and determining what is the first step. And I think, Dave, when we did this exercise, you had several people you wanted to reach out to. Am I remembering that right?
Yes. Mhm.
Yes. And he picked one.
Mhm.
Did you call that person?
I did. Yeah.
Yes. Did it go as well as you had hoped?
As well. Yeah.
Okay.
It's good. It's a process.
There is a lot of processes, yes, for
Yeah.
sure. Awesome. So that was a super abbreviated version of the guided meditation that I take people through in the session, and I also do in coaching sessions because sometimes you just gotta do the relaxation exercises. I mean, that's really not technically what they are. In fact, sometimes they can energize you. Do the mindfulness exercises, get your brain in a little bit better flow state, and then we go through true problem solving. Questions. And I'm going to start with Brandon. So thank you, Brandon, for letting me know to catch you up. I don't know that I really gave people a whole lot of background about positive intelligence. It is an entire operating system created by a man by the name of Shirzad Shamin. There's a book, there's an app. I'm a positive intelligence coach. I would love to connect after and tell you more. This assessment that Dave took is free, and the discovery session that we did is very reasonably priced. And I love to take people through this process and let them know what outdated survival behaviors are still running the show and getting in their way. So hopefully that's helpful enough abbreviation. What other questions can I answer for people?
Well, let's see. Oh, we got one. I've kind of found this really, really helpful because the the whole idea of saboteurs was kind of eye-opening, and the realization that some of the things that were running along in the back of my head were affecting how I work in the world and how I deal with people, both professionally and personally.
Mm-hmm.
And so much of what we all do is dependent on how we feel, both mentally and physically. And you you have to kind of work on yourself to you know to build the strength you need, the internal strength you need to move forward and achieve the goals that you want to achieve.
I definitely agree with that. And this, we've said many times, this is a process, and emotional resilience and regulate emotional regulation are definitely having a moment if you follow personal development things. And I kind of have my own take on that because I think it gets overstated, the value of being regulated. People are not meant to be regulated all of the time. And when you catch your heart racing or you catch yourself reacting to something, that doesn't mean you've failed or you suck at meditation or whatever thing. I mean, that means your body and your nervous system is doing what it was designed to do. The
Mhm.
idea is to make sure that you are not hijacked as often and for as long, because as you go throughout your life and experience all the things that life brings, whether it's a stressful job or a complicated relationship or a new puppy or whatever it is, you're going to have times that your brain goes crazy and your saboteurs pop up and your judge decides, rawr, I'm gonna do all the things. Okay. Oh, thank you. Can you talk a little bit about the SAGE approach for a hypervigilant individual with anxiety? I worry
Mm,
about making mistakes that can't be fixed.
mm,
Thank you for that question, Brandon. And first of all, I want to take a second and say that I see you, because when your brain is doing that in that pattern, it's hard. That is a big load to carry, and it's hard to know where to start. Um, the art of hesitation from Tia. Thank you, Tia. So hypervigilant, somewhere I don't think I would be able to find it quickly enough to put it here. I have a clip art graph that I made. You want to think about the 80/20. I'm sorry, that's the hyper detailed one. Hyper rational. No, maybe it is hyper vigilant. It's tough because the hyper vigilant, you don't want them marinating all the time in the worst case scenario, but it's not a bad idea to do a little bit of that and then actually assign probabilities. So,
mm,
if you're a person that, oh my gosh, the Earth could get struck by an asteroid tomorrow and I can't go outside, well, yeah, I could, but do we need to worry about it if it does? Like, is worrying about it
mhm.
gonna change anything? That probability is not very high. Or if
Yeah.
I go outside, a bird might poop on me. Well, yeah, that would stink too, but you go in, you wash your hair, and you come back out, and it's fine. So a lot of times assigning possible outcomes and the probability of those outcomes helps you organize what the true risk things are versus your brain going crazy and thinking of all of the possible worst case scenarios. So that would essentially be the first part of that. But definitely, Brandon, were you here for when we were doing the mindfulness reps, the PQ reps? If you're able to catch the beginning, I definitely recommend that because you were okay. Yeah. So that kind of stuff can help as well when the brain is going a little bit crazy. What other questions can I answer?
Mm.
Having hyper rational and pleaser is interesting but feels accurate. That is an awesome question. So Victoria asks, having hyperrational and pleaser in my top three is interesting but feels accurate. I'm naturally driven to be rational, but the minute I notice I'm not there emotionally, I overcompensate by trying to please people to show I care. How can I balance this? That is a common thing. And I will eat. So Lauren, I will need to send you all the assessment in order so that I have the results and we can work together. So there'll be a contact form at the end that you guys can email me, and then I'll be able to send you guys the assessment. Um, Okay, so back to Victoria's question. So hyper rational is definitely about taking the emotion out, and then the pleaser is the fear of loss of connection. So you're gonna tiptoe around. And how can I balance this? Definitely they have different steps. So for the pleaser, the sage step is very much asking yourself honestly, and this is hard to do because I have a pretty big pleaser. What would please me? When you ask what would please me, and I get it because half the time I think what would please me is having everyone around me stop complaining, and I'm just going to keep pleasing until they stop complaining. But the reality is it's a process of getting in touch with what you really want, regardless of what's going on around you. And that feels hard when you're a pleaser, for sure.
Mhm.
Hyper rational, I would have to review what the sage step is for that one. I know for my sister, she's an extremely rational person, but her hyper rational isn't a problem because her other emotional saboteurs are pretty. So just because you are a rational person doesn't mean that your hyper rational saboteur is running the show or getting in your way. Did I answer your question, Victoria? I feel like I didn't quite get there, but we can talk later.
Yeah. I think one of the most valuable thing out of this conversation is just the awareness of these things. And I think awareness is half the solution in a way.
Yeah, the awareness makes all the difference. And one of the first things that I do when I work with clients is we name your judge. And it's super important. You guys can, comically do that now, whether it's, Picky Peter or, you know, I don't know, Jerky Jennifer, well, like whatever silly name, like, and try to make it a silly name and make the name have
Yeah.
nothing to do with your actual name so that you can delineate that this is something that was um it developed inside of me, but it's the result of a lot of outside experiences that I've internalized. And when I
Hmm.
learned to recognize it essentially as outside, that's the first thing I can do to take away its power. And then you
Hmm.
begin to take back your own inner voice.
Yeah.
I
So,
love all the engagement. Thank you guys. And I'm
yeah.
excited to see how I can help people that want to reach out and connect. This work has been really powerful for me. I came to it through a friend who is a business coach. She was a coach, and I got to do the program at an extreme discount. And this is how I know your judge doesn't want you to do PQ reps because I completely did the program only halfway. I sort of logged on, I sort of did it, and at the end of the program, I still felt better. That's the amazing part of it. And I thought, wow, I bet if I did it, like really did it, it would change my life. And lo and behold, I had the opportunity to do the program again. And then I did it a third time as a coach, and now I've been through it a bazillion times. So happy. I understand the resistance for sure.
I think that's the goal is like, I think this kind of can bring joy into your life, even in most situations, I was thinking that, I was watching, I don't know, Elon Musk on an interview and he's talking about his life. And I thought, yeah, he's super rich and all that, but his life absolutely sucks. And I'm happy I'm not that guy.
Yeah,
So I think that those little things that are in the background that suck the life out of you and diminish your joy. I mean, these techniques can help you put that back into what you do, whatever you're doing.
definitely. Well, and I didn't do this mindfulness PQ rep, but one of my favorite is for 10 seconds, listen to the farthest away sound you can hear, and then listen to the closest sound you can hear. And I do that when I walk my dogs outside, obviously. And, sometimes it's a truck backfiring or something
Hmm.
like that. But usually it brings me into the present where I
Yeah,
had been just like blender brain of all the things I need to do later, or an argument I had with somebody or whatever. And that's a terrible way to live all the time. It's
exactly.
wonderful to be able to come to the present.
Yeah. It's hard work. It is work though.
It is work. It is work. It is very worthwhile. Very
Yeah.
worthwhile.
We're all on the journey. Let's find the tools to
Yes.
help us along the way.
Yes. Any other
So,
questions for me, guys? Open book.
well, I hope you guys enjoyed this today. This was a little bit different, but this is something that's been on my radar here for the last year or so. You just can't grind all day. You gotta figure out how to have a life. And this was a great tool for me and a pretty raw experience, I will say, doing the assessment and going through some of the exercises with Beth. I mean, but it was very helpful. So, Beth, thank you for
Dave
joining us
was
today.
super vulnerable in his session with me. And I was like, are you sure you want to do this on Toolkit Tuesday, Dave? I tried to keep it like a little more abbreviated and not crack his chest open for all y'all.
Yep.
So
Oh,
thank you,
well.
Dave, for stepping up because that's hard to do.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, thanks for everybody for joining us. Janet, thanks for driving the ship as always.
Sure thing. We'll have the recording available, send that out. So you guys, if you didn't capture the QR code or the link there, you'll have that in the recording. And there will also be a separate email for evaluation that'll come with this. So probably tomorrow that'll all happen.
Yeah. So please reach out to Beth or me or anybody here at the Small Business Development Center. We're all here to help and we're all on the same journey. Let's stick together and get it done and have a good life, right?
Yes.
All right. We will see you next Tuesday on another Toolkit Tuesday. Thanks for joining today. See you later.